Warning, this content may be disturbing to some audiences. Subscribe, if you dare.
Attempting to explain the parent swap process again at Disney theme park, when one of them stands up and full on slaps me in the face. Hey everybody, welcome to ANECDOSED. People ask Reddit. Redditors who have worked in a theme park, what's the biggest adult tantrum you've witnessed?
Number 1.
Commenter. I worked those not quite rigged games where you pay $2 to try to win a stuffed animal or basketball. One family was so upset over losing $10 that they threatened to wait for me at my car and knife me after work. The whole family. Security escorted the entire family into the security building and I never saw them leave before my shift was over, thankfully. Person B. I once worked at a mini golf place on a boardwalk and told an adult I couldn't give change for a large bill, strict register rules, and he said I hope you get hit by a car tonight.
Number 2.
When I was in high school I was a face painter at a weekend festival involving a blue-colored train who has adventures. Obviously we were just doing little trains on the kids' cheeks. However, one child threw a huge fit that he wanted his face to look just like Thomas the Tank Engine. Which frankly looks really freaking creepy. However, his dad insisted and paid extra. Cue to 5 minutes after I spend 15 minutes carefully painting this kid's face to have his psychotic mom go ballistic on me that I've ruined her family's day and now her child looks like a demon. I was 16 and just sort of stared at her in shock and horror while the guy running the tent came over and escorted her out. BTW, the kid loved it.
Number 3.
Commenter. A Jamaican dude who must have been 6 feet 10 inches told me he'd kill me because I wouldn't let him on the teacups. There was no room, I told him he could go on the next lot. Person B. A tall Jamaican dude told me I was a bitch for not letting his small child ride a roller coaster, and he said he hoped I got fired. This was at Disney.
Number 4.
Was running whack-a-mole. Some guy lost and punched the winner in the throat. Called security and he was kicked out, and they gave the winner some free stuff to apologize. Like if anything else ever happened.
Number 5.
Disneyland. Near the bank of Main Street in autumn. Old dude looking around at the leaves on the ground muttering to himself. He spots me and eagerly heads towards me. In my head, what is this nonsense? To him, good morning sir, is there an issue? Angrily, Walt would be spinning in his grave if he saw all this trash. I scan the ground, there is no trash, only fallen leaves. The leaves? Yes, this place has become a disgrace. I apologized, thanked him and pointed to City Hall.
Number 6.
Commenter. Worked on a ride that had a height requirement. One of only a few in the park. This ride had flight simulators that were no joke. They could go completely vertical and if the harness didn't hold you correctly, you could have a less than ideal riding experience. There was a woman and her child who tried to come and the child was too short. We explained this, give the kid a pass to jump to the front of the line when he's tall enough, and he's fine. Mother, however, was not. She's freaking out at us immediately. TBH, I wasn't really listening to what she said, but she wouldn't go away and was causing a huge disturbance. We call the manager on duty. She does the same thing to him. It's at this point that she says the one thing I remember. Are you telling me you care more about my child's safety than if he has a good time or not? My manager looks stunned, but responds quite calmly, yes, and, quite frankly, it concerns me that you don't. After that she left. Adults are far, far worse than children in amusement parks. Person B. I've seen people freak out at Disney and Universal parks with for what this ticket cost me. He's writing this whether you like it or not as if the monetary value of the ticket outweigh the risk of injury, sickness or death. I just can't understand the logic. How do you turn off that sense of protection for your children so easily?
Number 7.
Commenter. Was working one of the kiddie rides one day, and this stupid kid in line stuck his head between the bars and the gate. It took me and 2 other adults to pull the bars enough for the kid to get his head back out. Afterwards the kid's mom comes running over and starts yelling at me for letting him get his head stuck. I told her that she should have been with the kid in line. She did not like that response. She stood there yelling at me for a good 5 minutes, claiming that I'm irresponsible and should not be allowed to work the kid rides. I called a manager over on the radio and he took a formal complaint from her, writing down what she was saying in his notebook. After the lady left he showed me his notebook, and there was a drawing of a dragon eating her and her kid. Person B. I was working on a similar ride when a kid pushed through another kid and got his head stuck in the gate as it was closing. I ran to the gate and started pulling it so his neck wouldn't get crushed while I yelled at the operator to release the gate. The dad then comes up yelling at me why his kid got stuck in the gate. I just told him, look man, your kid ran through other kids and got his head stuck while we were focused on the ride. He then proceeded to yell at me until my manager came and eventually got escorted out.
Number 8.
I worked at Disney several years ago. One job I had was working with the various characters, and let me tell you what, people lost their goddamn minds over the characters. I was threatened, screamed at, followed, called names, spat at, all manner of rude things for either taking the character away or not letting people cut the line. But the one that always comes to mind is one mother. We did allow Make-A-Wish kids to cut the line and meet the characters first, for obvious reasons. One time when I did this, the mother got very angry and said I wish my kids had cancer so they could cut the line. I had no response except to pray the poor Make-A-Wish family hadn't hurt her.
Number 9.
Worked Disneyland on New Year's Eve 1997. I was a busboy at Riverbell Terrace. The place was packed. Not a seat to be had. There were, however, some open seats at the Golden Horseshoe, which was maybe 100 yards away. We were told to direct people over there. This woman towing 3 kids and an elderly man comes up, holds out a $20 and says find me a seat. I let her know that we can't take tips, and even if I could, there were simply no seats to be had. However, there are seats at the Golden Horseshoe and I showed her where that was. She screams, oh come on, no seats. That's ridiculous. You want me to walk a mile just to sit down? I told her that I was sorry but I would keep an eye out for seats and let her know when a table opened up. Fast forward 20 minutes. I find her and her party basically squatted on the edge of one of the planters to eat. Whatever, I don't care. I see their trays next to them with empty plates. I ask if I can take them. Yeah, she says, glad to see you can do something. Take it away, trash man. I smile and take them away. 5 minutes later, she's bitching to my manager that I took their trays without asking and that they were still eating. He refunded their money. I went to him to plead my case. He just laughed and said don't even sweat it. New Year's is hell. Just survive the night. It was cheaper to refund her than to have her waste more cast member time. Shake it off. It's not you who is the problem. Last night I ever worked there. Sadly I never worked with him again. I didn't often work that side of the park and it wasn't common for us to interact with managers directly, leads were our supervisors on stage. Would have liked to have worked with him more.
Number 10.
I worked at an amusement park last summer. I had a parent throw a basket of cheesy fries at me because his daughter wasn't tall enough to ride the ride. He said he waited in line for 45 minutes. I responded that he had 3 opportunities to check her height in the line. That was apparently not the correct answer.
Number 11.
I worked in the kiddie area of one of the SeaWorld parks. There was a little coaster there called the Shamu Express, which you had to be 38 inches tall to ride. This crusty man came up with his baby, had to be like 18 months old, in a diaper, wanting to ride. Went off on me when I said she couldn't. Almost comically he picked her up and held her against the 38-inch sign, feet dangling in the air, trying to make it look like this baby was as tall as a 4-year-old. He started making fun of me, read my name tag and made fun of my name as he stormed off.
Number 12.
I worked at the guest service office in a theme park for a little while, which basically meant we either answered basic questions or had to listen to complaints. Well, this one day this couple came in with their baby in a stroller. They were complaining that our employees were not allowing them to leave their baby in stroller parking while they rode the rides. Keep in mind that wait times for some rides can be several hours and it was pretty hot that day. So we calmly described to them that it was a safety issue for their child, that someone could take their child, and that in general the stroller parking area was not monitored. We then let them know that we had a child pass system, which would allow one parent to ride, while the other waited with the child and then allow the next parent front of line access, while the other parent waited with the child. They said that was not good enough for them as they came to the park because they wanted to ride together, and that if they were not able to ride together then they wanted a refund. So, we looked up their ticket, and saw that they had been in the park for 6 hours at that point. Our answer was no. Then more back and forth about how we could not allow them to leave their child unattended in a stroller or give them a refund. Eventually they just left.
Number 13.
Former ride op here. I've had many instances of adults having meltdowns over safety procedures being an inconvenience to their best day ever experience. I've been spat on, screamed at, threatened, you know the works. I have to say over the 3 years I worked at my coaster, the worst was during the first week of my second year. So the coaster that I worked at had the tallest height requirement in the park, meaning we had a lot of families coming through with parent swap cards that let one parent wait through the line while the other waits at the exit of the ride with the kid who's not tall enough to ride. Parent 1 rides, trades spots with parent 2 who rides the next cycle when parent 1 gets back. So I had 2 mothers standing with their strollers in the exit, while dads were waiting in line. They point out their husbands, and I tell them I'll save 2 seats for them on the next train, and then ask a fellow op that's separating people into rows to hold 2 seats on the next train. So the train pulls in, and fellow op has forgotten to save 2 seats for these moms. The people sitting in the seats meant to be saved are buckled in, and I ask them if they can step back into the queue and wait for the next train, as these 2 moms were waiting in line in front of them at the exit. People on the train start screaming at me that they've been waiting in the sun for 2 hours and they aren't getting off. Moms are standing next to me screaming that they've been waiting for longer and those are our seats. I ask the people on the train again to please step back into the queue and the next train will be here in 5 minutes and attempt to explain the parent swap process again, when one of them stands up and full-on slaps me in the face. She yells something about me being a 16-year-old on a power trip, I was 19 at the time, says she doesn't want to ride the ride anyways, and stalks off down the exit, friend in tow. Moms got on the ride, we sent the cycle, and my supervisor provided a bag of ice for my face. Make sure to share your personal story in the comments below and have the opportunity to be featured in a future video. Also, if you like these topics, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button to continue seeing more content like this every day. See you next time.